This is Turn It Up. The mic is ours. The podcast where people living with HIV take the mic.
And take no prisoners. I am Kerry.
And I am Isis.
So today we're just going to simply just chop it up a little bit, introduce ourselves to folks, tell us what our goal for our vision for the podcast, and how much we're looking forward to do that. You want to go and start us off, Isis?
Thank you. Yeah, I would love to. So I'm Isis Tapia, better known in the ballroom community in Mexico as Isis Magdalena. I am mother of a ballroom house in the ballroom community called House of Magdalena. I am 36 years old. I am a Pisces. I am a trans woman living with HIV. Um, I don't know what else. I love cats and I love music. What about you, Kerry?
That's what's up. And I think I want to point out, I'm glad you said that where you're located, because you're in Mexico City, correct?
Yeah, Mexico City, born and raised. Where are you
Nice.
located?
Excellent. And I think what's so unique about this podcast, because I'm actually in Boise, Idaho, in the United States, which is in the Pacific Northwest of the United States. I'm Kerry Thomas. I'll be 61 years old this year. So, and actually, this is the first. So I'll be 61 on the 7th. I'm a longtime resident of Boise, Idaho. I'm also a person living with HIV. I was diagnosed in 1988. But aside from that, I'm a father and I'm a grandfather. I work for, just like you, I work for Sero Project. And we'll get into some of the details. I think where you were talking off, I'm a Leo, obviously, since my birthday's this month. My hobbies are, I do love pets, don't have one right now, looking forward to getting a dog eventually. But I love to cook. I love all things. I'm definitely a foodie. And I think that's one of the things that hopefully that we'll be able to bring out is our different cooking. That might be a segment where we talk about, different food things to kind of be healthy. I know that you love your food. You have some great ideas on that. But yeah, I was born and raised in Boise, Idaho, diagnosed in 1988. I've been with Sero Project for actually over a decade. And we'll touch on that a little bit because I actually started while I was incarcerated when I was on the Sero board of directors. And so I've been able to carry that. I think let's touch on this. How did we? Can you start off telling you what you remember or how we met? Because for me, it's really interesting. I'm interested in your take on that as well.
The first time we met, it was at like in person, you say?
Yes.
Because I saw you when I went to my first HINAC, the HIV is Not a Crime conference,
Oh,
when they
okay.
made the transmission, live transmission from the conference. That's the first time like I saw you live, like in a digital way. But the first time that I actually saw you in person was on our staff retreat, right?
Oh, you're right. You're right.
Yeah, it was our staff retreat in Chicago.
Yeah,
Or was
that's right. No,
yeah.
that one was in Pennsylvania, I think.
Oh, the first one was Pennsylvania. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was like near Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was so cool because I got the chance to meet you and Cindy in person. So I was so happy to see you live
Yeah.
and also Cindy.
Yeah, no doubt. I think that I remember that, and I forgot to mention that I did have the ability to. For me, it was so exciting because I was meeting people, although I didn't get a chance when I was doing things virtually ever to meet anyone, and so it was usually I'd get piped in through Zoom, and I was just doing my presentation. But I remember when I met you, and that was, by the way, after serving 15 years, that was the first road trip I went on. And what some of the Stereo staff thing I remember most is how welcoming and everyone was, especially you. I mean, from day one, it seemed like we kind of hit it off, if that makes sense. I don't know if
Yeah,
that's the right way to phrase it, because
yeah,
it showed your dedication to advocacy. It showed how serious you are about your work, and I realized what a good person you are. And that's one of
yeah.
the reasons that I wanted, when this opportunity came about, I really wanted to work with you to learn more about where you're from, what your interests are, to a little bit delve into our work. And of course, we'll also be talking a little bit about about the individual work that we do for Sero Project. Um, you could probably, let's try the best we can to describe what Sero. Some people may not know what Sero Project is, and this might be something that for this episode we can be a little vague. But I think that for future episodes, we should try to have like something specifically that we say what Sero Project is. Don't you think?
Perfect. Yeah. So we can start like with the general, I don't know, uh, way to describe what Zero does and is.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So do you want us to do that now?
Let's go. Let's do that. Let's go and introduce that Sero Project. I think it's real important because you're the Latin America coordinator. Is that correct?
Right. So basically, Zero Project, it's an organization that's been working for years against HIV criminalization, um, HIV criminalization advocacy, started by Sean like years ago, right?
Yeah.
So the part that I do of the job, which I'm very honored to be part of this team with people like Kerry that I admire so much, is I do all the work in Latin America and the Caribbean of HIV criminalization. I maintain the network of organizations against criminalization throughout Latin America and the Caribbean, as well as some other projects that we have specifically for certain countries. Um, yeah, so that's like an overview of what I do for Zero. What about you, Kerry?
Yeah. I imagine that because just on the face of that, that's a huge. And you're just you're the only person from Zero that's doing that. And like, that's a huge responsibility and a huge area. And I want to be clear that I really admire, especially someone coming on um, later. This is only my second year with Zero. That
Yeah,
I've always been amazed. That's a lot of work to be done in that, and then you handle it with such grace and professionalism that really stands out to me. So,
thank
like I said earlier, I started off on the board of directors for Zero while I was still incarcerated. I did that for like about a decade. When I was released in 2023, we worked it out, and I came on board as a policy decriminalization strategist. And what that means is that my role with that is that defining the strategies that best can tell the stories of folks living with HIV.
you.
I think we've all agreed that what really moves the needle, what really has impact, is getting people to share their personal stories as part of the narrative. We can talk. I think there's organizations, Sero included, that do some amazing work with putting the graphs and the stats and the figures together on why criminalization is so dangerous and the intersectionality that comes with it. When we're talking about HIV criminalization, we're talking about homelessness, we're talking about sex workers, we're talking about families, and all those things are all part of criminalization. My function as Sero is I get to give folks an opportunity to share that story, so we can have more direct impact when we're talking the more policy. So that's in a nutshell, that's the role of as a policy strategist. One question I would ask that maybe we can flesh out a little bit is what would you find what your purpose is, Isis?
My purpose at Zero or my purpose in life, like in
Let's,
general?
let's talk about in general.
Okay, cool. Great question. By the way, I think I was trying to unmute my mic, but I think your work is amazing and I really admire the way you do it, and you're such an amazing person. So, I think my purpose in life it's about empathy in general. Just like observing other people's experiences and lives, and just, yeah, trying to be as understanding and loving as possible with everybody that I cross during my life, that we cross paths. I think that's like my main purpose. And but maybe there's something else. I don't know. I think that we're figuring out like as we go in life. But so far, this is what I think it's my purpose. What about you, Carrie?
Yeah, I like where you're going with that, because I think that when you say what's your purpose, that's such a big question. Um, on the criminalization side of things, one of my purposes, I don't want anyone ever who's lived with HIV to have to experience what I had to experience as far as criminalization side. But I also recognize that incarceration is only one part of criminalization. It's the criminalization at the extreme, when you're putting the, I call it, when you're putting the bracelets on people as in the handcuffs, and you're locking them up for a period of time. That's the extreme side of criminalization. Part of my purpose is to let people know that criminalization starts, the stigma that feeds criminalization really starts as soon as someone is diagnosed with HIV. And bringing light to that is that, because I think the overall goal is not simply to end criminalization, it's to end the systems and the beliefs and the stigma that drives criminalization. I think that's about starting a real serious conversations. I think when we were looking at what my purpose for that podcast, we know the things that are going on that are destructive. We read it and we feel it every day. Well, I want to talk about the people that have survived it and what we're doing to get through it. So I don't want this necessarily, although we'll be talking about serious subjects, but I want to talk about the victories and how people are living their lives and getting on with their lives despite all the the negative impacts that criminalization has. And that's kind of the stories that I want to tell. The people of survival and perseverance, and getting people to share with the people. There's so many people doing amazing work in this field. I want to know who those people are, not simply their work, but really what drives them. And that's one of the things I'm excited to pursue with you, Isis, is finding out what makes Isis tick. What swings. I call it for myself. What is it that gets me to swing my feet out of bed every morning and do the work?
Yeah, and I'm very excited that people gets to know that about us and about the people that are coming as guests to our podcast, because sometimes advocacy, it's all about results and numbers, and it really, I think it's even part of the problem that we treat ourselves as like something very technical. And so these, I think we also have the intention of having, getting to show that we are real people, we're
Mm-hmm,
humans, what we like, what we do, like humanizing the work that we all do. And that
mm-hmm.
makes me very excited to do it, especially with you, Kerry, because you're such an amazing and interesting person that I think it's going to be great with all the people that we'll have in the future coming to the podcast as guests.
No doubt. I'm definitely looking forward to that. I guess the question I want to, if you're comfortable, and I'll start off. I was diagnosed with HIV in 1988. Um, I was I was getting ready to graduate college, and then I was going to enlist in the military, in the United States Air Force, actually. And part of that with the enlistment process, which you had to get a physical, which included a blood test. And I remember when I found out, because I got called back to the recruiting office, and I'll tell you the truth, I didn't even know what I was getting called back for. I thought maybe they needed some more blood work. Um, to be honest, I thought that maybe I failed the UA portion. To tell you the truth, I might have been blowing a little bit back then. So I thought that's what it was, what it was about. So when I was told, so I was 24 years old at that time, and when I was told my diagnosis, um, sadly, I didn't even know what it was when they kept initially. It wasn't until they said that, hey, that's the virus that causes AIDS. That's what triggered it. And I think at that time I was told, I had 6 months, maybe a year, most a year and a half to live. And so from there, I simply went and I talked to my parents. I remember going over their house right after that. I didn't have a lot of information, and so I broke it down to them best we could. We squirted some tears and gave a hug, and none of us had any answers. And then I went on for those next 6 to 10 months, not even knowing what I was going to do. How was I going to prepare myself for something like that at age 24? And then a funny story is that I was actually, I say sometimes that I didn't, for that year and a half, I didn't even take a sober breath. I was just drinking and just trying to numb all the things that I was going through. Then there was a person that came by from the LGBTQ community, actually, and got me off the couch. And they took me to a doctor's appointment. And that's when I realized that I've been fed a bunch of lies from day one regarding HIV, and that I can live a full life. And so that I can live longer, and that I can reset goals and try to achieve those goals the best I could. And so that was a really cornerstone for me in the process when I got off the couch. And it really drives the work I do today, that let people know that you can, HIV is manageable. You can move on in your life. You can have the full life to the best of your abilities. And it's one conversation I want to have with folks as far as the podcast.
Wow. So it makes me, thank you for sharing that. It makes me think of how much everything's changed and advanced since the HIV epidemic started, and of how it was treated before, of the expectations that they had before, and how much we advanced, but how much work we still need to do.
Mm,
Uh-huh.
definitely.
So yeah, that sounds like it was like way more complicated than it should be now. Like if someone gets their you know, yeah, their HIV result in these days, like now in 2025, and you see with the current political situation how much we're going backwards again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thank you very much for sharing that. And so it's been how many years now?
It's over 30. I was trying to do the quick math, and it's odd. I know there's some people in community that really celebrate their anniversaries, and I know that it was October of '88. That rings in my head. And
Okay.
so it's been over 30 years, over half my life, and all my adult life I've been a person living with HIV, and I'm
Right.
proud to say that today.
It's 34 because I was born in 89.
Okay.
So, and I'm
Yeah.
35. I'm
So
doing the math.
yeah, so almost over half my life, and like I say all the time, all my adult life I've been a person living with HIV.
Wow. Mine, I had it in March of 2018. I don't celebrate my HIV birthday, or how do you call it?
Mm-hmm.
Just because it has become such a natural part of my life from the
Yeah.
beginning that I don't see it as anything like out of the normal, or I mean it's I'm really thankful of like now we have treatment, and that
Mhm.
it it helps me having like a normal life. But also, I don't know, I've never thought of like having a birthday. Yeah, so I had it in March of 2018. So yeah, it was at the beginning the same. It was an intense process. At the moment, I was with in a relationship, and the other person was not positive. So from the beginning, I was in I don't know how you call when in a relationship someone is HIV positive and someone is not
Mm-hmm.
in English.
I think they say like serial discordant is
Yes,
like
it's
the technical term.
yeah. In Spanish, we say almost the same. It's cero discordante.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
Kind of writes the same, but it has just one e at the end in Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
So we were a zero discordant couple. So I was lucky because I know that there's a lot of people that if they know that somebody lives with HIV, maybe they wouldn't get into a relationship with them or even have just any kind of other interaction with them because of the stigma that is still alive these days. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I was very lucky to have someone supporting me for, with that person I was for 3 years living
Mm-hmm.
together. So yeah, I was lucky from the beginning, also telling my mom. I grew up with my mom, and telling her, she was the first to know when I went out of the clinic. I called
Mm,
her and she was like, "Baby, don't worry. There's a lot of like advances and treatment, and you're gonna have a normal life." And I was like, "Okay, I
wow.
already knew all of that because I had like access to information." But the fact that my mother was saying that to me was really special and important for the whole process, because I thought, if my mom is with me, then whatever happens, I don't care.
Isn't
So
that
yeah,
the truth?
yeah,
I think I remember because that was the I remember left the clinic. I drove around for whatever amount of time, but the first place I went was to my parents, and I told them, and of course we didn't have any information whatsoever. But what they did tell me is that they were going to be there to support me the whole time, and that meant so much to me. Although some of the decisions I made after, I started to isolate and separate myself from people, and it was more out of fear and just not knowing for me, but I know from the very beginning that my parents have always had my back and they loved me the best that they could during that time. Both my parents have passed away now. I lost both of them while I was incarcerated, which was a challenge. I think that, um, and I'm sure that there'll be an episode where we talk specifically about the incarceration aspect. But I just want to be clear that when we're talking about support that sounds like you had from your mother, my parents were the same way, and and that although I didn't make the best choices at that time, like I said, I was really isolating. I felt separated. I was very fearful. All those things were going on because, again, in the 80s, there really wasn't any medication at that time, and so when the doctor was saying that I had that short amount of time, we believed him, and so how do you prepare yourself for that eventual end? But once I realized that that wasn't the case, then the tough question really came out, if not maybe even a tougher question: how am I going to live? What am I going to do? How can I live, be my best self going forward, knowing that I was still? And that's around the time that I really started to feel the stigma with HIV. Specifically, I remember for a job going into had to get a physical for a job, and then they have the questionnaire at the clinic, and this is horrible. And so I'm not thinking anything of it. I turned it in, and it was like the bio signal went off. They rushed in, they put gloves on, they put the mask and everything on, had to usher me out of a room, and it was horrifying, and confusing to me because I didn't even know anything about it. And that's when I started to realize, man, the stigma around HIV is intense, and the amount of fear that was there in the 80s was just out of control. And you said something a few moments ago that we're going back to those times now. In this current political environment, we're heading backwards to that era of hysteria that we had before, which is fueled, I would say, was fueled by the stigma. Don't you think? I think that a lot of the things that are going on in our communities now are purely
yeah.
based on attacking and separating. And I think that I guess the question I would have, it's a long way to get to this question, but the question I always have is, as being a person of trans experience in this day and age, I mean, that's intense, isn't it?
Right. So at this moment, like you said, like first what you were saying about stigma, like the medicine does the work, the treatment does the work of like keeping us healthy, but the real disease of HIV is a stigma from other people,
Bingo.
or even between us. So I think the worst disease that it's part of the whole HIV experience, for putting in a way, it's a stigma from outside, the external stigma. But yeah, of your question of being a person of trans experience, especially being Mexican and being brown, so it's like adding more to to the package. Like at this moment, and the current political climate, I'm just like a target for hate, like in a lot of ways, like living with HIV, being trans, being brown, being Mexican. So yeah, um, I feel that at this point, like, I don't know if when you were young, you were thinking that the future was going to be so perfect, so modern, like cars flying, but most importantly, advancing um, evolving as a society, but it's sometimes feels, especially now, it feels like it's going back to when it was, like, so retrograde. I don't know how
Hmm.
to say that.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it
definitely.
feels like that. So yeah, especially for me, I feel like it's as dangerous for me to be trans and HIV positive and brown as it was a long way ago, before we had like all these advances in human rights and,
Mhm.
you know gender, everything. So yeah, it just makes me really, really sad that we don't advance with the times. Yeah.
Yeah, well put, well put. And I think that one of the things I know this podcast is really going to explore is I've my father was in the military, and so we traveled primarily in Southeast Asia. But I'm really interested in the dynamic of Mexico and United States, because I think that from the outside, I think that especially being an African American, being born and raised United States, the level of racism and hatred is that there's always that cloud. And I've always seen Mexico as more accepting, more liberal. If I don't know if that's the right term I want to use or not, but I always saw that Mexico as I think that when my family and I used to vacation in Mexico, I was always and I know that we can edit this, but I was disgusted sometimes how Americans would go to a foreign country and act as if that they own the place. And I've always wondered, from a person who is from that country, what's the impact of the United States on the day to day? Is the United States seen as fair and accepting, or is the United States seen in a different context? I wonder if you could touch on that, if that question makes sense.
It makes total sense, and it's so important right now for the current context, because we're actually going through a lot of protests here because of gentrification. Like, we're always been very welcoming for foreigners in general. Mexico
Mhm.
has always been like a welcoming place, but right now it got out of control. And for example, in my city, in Mexico City, everything is way more expensive because they expats just come here for a few months, and they are able to pay rents where in places that now Mexican people cannot afford. So yeah, we're going through all of that. So what you're saying about U.S. citizens like coming and acting like they own the place, they actually keep doing it more than ever.
Wow.
Uh, but what you say about, like, Mexico, it's one of the countries with the highest rates of trans women murders in the world.
Okay.
So it's funny because we actually, like, in Mexico City, have a lot of advances in human rights, and I can actually, in some parts of the city, walk safe as a trans person.
Hmm.
But if I go a little bit outside, in the outsides of the city, somebody could just kill me. And,
Really.
and, and in other states also. So it's very few states that respect trans folks. So it's like Mexico City is very liberal, how you say. It's a little bit
Hmm.
more advanced in human rights, and a lot of people from other states come to live here because we feel safer as the trans community. There's a lot of trans community here in Mexico City.
Hmm.
So, but I definitely feel safer here in Mexico City than I do in the US, for example.
Wow,
Right? Hmm.
that's saying a lot.
Yeah.
I think that United States, we like to portray ourselves as the land of equal opportunity and all this stuff. And when you think about just simply the immigration policies alone, uh, show that that's a hypocrisy, that what we're saying one thing and definitely doing another. And I think those are some of the things, I think, with the guests that we'll have coming up in the future, we're going to explore that a little bit. And again, we're focusing on how do we survive it. That to get to know the people that are involved, that are on the ground, and what's going on with their lives, because we're much more than our nationality. We're much more than our status. We're much more. than our sexual identities. We're people. And I think that that's one of the things I'm really anxious to explore with folks, is to bringing the human dignity back into it. And I know that, again, we've said multiple times in our production meetings about the goal of the podcast. Yeah, we'll talk about serious topics, no doubt. It would be irresponsible if we didn't. But we want to also know that the people behind it, we live a joyful life. With all the stuff going on, it's amazing now. Person after person I come across, we have that sense of joy that goes along with our sense of purpose. And we love to laugh, we love to eat. And I know that we're running a little bit long. And maybe for this particular episode, maybe let's talk about something joyful. I mean, you said early on that you really love music. Tell me about that. What's on your? Okay, I'm going to show my age a little bit here, so the term's going to be probably off. What's on your playlist nowadays? I'll say it this way: who you bumping right now?
Right. So I'm basically obsessed with artists from different parts of Africa. I'm
Oh wow.
especially obsessed with Tyla. I don't know if you've heard of like the water singer, like
Mm-mm.
"Make Me Water." I'm gonna send it to
Oh
you.
yeah, yeah. Okay,
Uh-huh. So she has amazing music. She just
okay,
released a mixtape. I love
okay,
Ira Star. I love Thames. I love Wizkid. I
okay,
love a lot of like African artists from all over, and I love reggaeton, of course. I'm a
hmm,
rock person, but I also love pop, so I'm very versatile in music.
okay,
Um, I love electronic music. I love to dance to electronic music, salsa, merengue, like all Latin styles. I love
okay,
dancing. I'm also a dancer. So yeah. Um, what's I love R&B, soul, blues.
okay.
Yeah. What about you?
At my core, I'm like serious soul, old school soul music, and I like a real strong bass beat. So I think my favorite band of all time is Earth, Wind, and Fire, and anything that's associated with them. When I need to move, something to pick me up, I'll put on September or Boogie Wonderland like that, and it always brings me out of it. But more recently, I think a couple of years ago, like the rest of the world, if not a year ago, I was really hitting some Kendrick Lamar, and just the lyric. I do like really strong lyrics. Right now, there isn't anyone specifically that I'm listening to that right now. Like that, I caught a little bit of Lil Tecca recently, and I'm liking some of his stuff. And for me, I got to have that real strong bass beat with some real good lyrics, and it's essentially that's my happy pace for sure. And I think that one thing we'll definitely explore is different you have like a wide range of joy in music, and we'll probably have to touch on that just a little bit as well.
Yeah, since we're very musical people, we should definitely have a full chapter of just talking about music.
Yeah,
That
I
would be
call
great.
I call music like the soundtrack of my life, because I think that whether I've been happy or sad or all the stuff in between, if I've been scared, I've been joyful, there's always been some songs that I can listen to right now. They bring me right to that spot, you know. So yeah, I think that that's going to be a strong foundation of what we do.
I really get that you have the whole Earth, Wind, and Fire vibe. So now every time I listen to it, I will remember you for sure. But yeah, I agree. Music is the soundtrack of life, and like playlists, it's like my love language. So when
Yeah,
when I
yeah,
send music to someone, it's because I care about them. It's a
no doubt, no
that's
doubt.
that's part of
Yeah,
me.
yeah, no doubt. I think that yeah, I think I'm gonna enjoy the musical journey. So you said that the song that you said the song's called Water, right?
Yeah,
When the
Tyla,
What's her name?
Tyla, Tyla.
Okay, I didn't know that. I do like that song.
Yeah, you should listen to her first album. It's
Okay,
called, I think, just Tyla,
okay,
and
yeah, I'll check that out.
yeah, it's gorge. It's
I
really
was I
good.
think that when that first came out, I was riding my bike on that all the time with that bumping. That was
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, and I'm obsessed with her since I'm a huge Rihanna fan, and she hasn't put out any music. She only does makeup. I don't blame her, but
Okay,
Tyla has filled that empty part of me that needed like like a girl that has that kind of vibe.
Right.
I mean, they're very different artists and they have their uniqueness, but
Okay.
I get that from Thailand now. I hope
Okay.
Rihanna brings out
Well,
some music soon. Like, get it,
right.
girl. We're waiting
That's
for
like
it.
like your Rihanna's like your go-to, huh?
Right.
Yeah, me
Uh,
too. Me
so
too.
she's my everything. Rihanna is
Yeah,
like, yeah.
that's what's up. So
Hmm.
if we're wrapping it up, I'm going to remind the audience that to share your stories, you can submit letters. We'll have a spot where you can send letters to contact us. As always, support Sero Project. You can subscribe to this and review the podcast. And I want folks to remember that your story has power, and this mic is ours.
El micrófono es nuestro. The mic is ours. Yeah. So please subscribe, send us questions, suggestions if you have any topics that you want us to talk about, any guests that you want us to have, please let us know. Thank you, Kerry. It's my honor. I'm very happy and excited about this journey with you. I've been wanting so much to like have this space with you that I'm so excited that it's finally happening. I'm so happy. Thank you. And
Of
thank you all
course.
for tuning. Your story is powerful, babies.